Hello guys, I hope you all are doing well. Today's video is the continuation of the last day's topic, the historical background. However, this video will have Government of India Act 1935, Indian Independence Act 1947 and the two questions that were there in mains 2015 and 2016. So watch it till the end and do let me know how it went for you. This is Government of India Act 1935, which is also the second milestone towards a completely responsible government. What was the first milestone? See, it was the Government of India Act of 1919. Why? Because it was written here that it was the responsible government. The ministers responsible to the Legislative Council. So this was the first milestone, and Government of India Act 1935 is the second one. And see, it was a lengthy and detailed document, just like our constitution, having 321 sections and 10 schedules. Comment down how many sections, how many articles and schedules were there in our constitution when it was commenced. Then we come to the features of the act. First is it established an all India federation. That is, there was a federal list, there was a provincial list, there was a concurrent list, which is still here today in India right now. Then restitutory powers were given to the viceroy. See, here we see that restitutory powers in the Government of India Act of 1935 were given to the viceroy. Viceroy was who? Viceroy came with the crown rule, as we studied here, and Lord Canning was the first viceroy. So viceroy was given the restitutory powers. However, in Indian constitution we will see that it is given to the center. And whom do we follow? See, everything is given in the book. We just need to keep looking and looking and looking. So see, here in the sources of the constitution, when we come down to the Canadian constitution, see, federation with a strong center. Okay, vesting of restitutory powers in the center, which in the Government of India Act 1935 was with the viceroy. So Canadian constitution has a federation with a strong center, so this is one thing we follow, and vesting of the restitutory powers to the center. So let's come back to our Government of India Act 1935 again. So now we know that in our case this is not correct. In our case this has been changed. We've adopted that from the Canadian constitution. Then it abolished diarchy. Where was diarchy introduced? It was again introduced in the Government of India Act 1919, the Monte-Chelmsford reforms. Then in the provinces, and introduced provincial autonomy. So it is again coming down to the states and everything. So provincial autonomy. Then governor was required to act with the advice of ministers responsible to the provincial legislature. So this is one thing that is important. However, it came into effect, but it was again discontinued. Then it provided for the adoption of diarchy at the center. So this act tried to bring the center control more of the powers of the center. However, this federal subject were divided, and reserve subjects were transferred subjects, but this provision did not came into operation. So this was not practiced. Then it was introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. See, we studied in the Monte-Chelmsford reforms, the bicameralism part and the direct elections in the country was first time introduced, and the Government of India Act 1935 introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. So legislatures of Bengal, Bombay and everything, it is here the upper house, lower house, and many restrictions were however placed on them. Then extended the principle of communal representation by providing separate electorates for depressed classes, women and labour. When was the separate electorate started? Where did we first see? See, it was started in the features of the Act 1909, introduced a system of communal representation, and who was called the father of communal electorate? It was Lord Minto. And here we see that again that separate electorate, that communal representation was initiated for the depressed classes also, and for women and labour also. And then it abolished the Council of India established by the Government of India Act of 1858. So that was what? The first Crown Rule Act that was here, and here it says that it established a 15-member Council of India to assist the secretary, and this was only advisory. This Council of India was only advisory. So which was started in Government of India Act 1858 has now been removed in the Government of India Act of 1935. So I think this point is also very clear. And then it extended franchisee. About 10% of the total population got the voting right. It provided for the establishment of a Reserve Bank of India to control the currency. So Reserve Bank portion is also from Government of India Act. And then it provided for the establishment of not only a Federal Public Service Commission, provincial also, and a joint public also, and it provided for the establishment of a federal court set up in 1937, and today we call this court as the Supreme Court, and this Supreme Court succeeded the Federal Court on 28 January 1950. This is Government of India Act 1935. We have two questions from here, we will discuss it, but let's first quickly look at the Indian Independence Act of 1947. See, On February 20, 1947, British Prime Minister declared British rule in India would end, so after which power would be transferred to the responsible Indian hands. This announcement was followed by the agitation by the Muslim League demanding partition of the country. So all of this followed. Hence, Lord Mountbatten, the Viceroy of India, put forth the partition plan known as the Mountbatten Plan. Plan was accepted by the Congress and the Muslim League. Immediate effect was given. So what were the features of the Act? It will end the British rule in India from August 15, 1947. Then provided for the partition of India and the creation of two independent dominions, that is Pakistan and India. Then abolished the office of Viceroy. So Viceroy office that was started by the Government of India Act 1858 was now abolished. So this was abolished, and then it empowered the constituent assemblies to frame and adopt any constitution for the respective nations and to repeal any act of the British Parliament if they do not want to keep it. So this was also given. Empowerment was also given to these assemblies to legislate for the respective territories till the new constitution were drafted, and then and abolished the office of the Secretary of State also. So in short, if we see that the Government of India Act 1858, the Viceroy part, the Secretary of State and the Council of India was somehow abolished at a later date. This was abolished in 1935, this was abolished in India independence, this was abolished in India independence. So this we see it here, and then it proclaimed the lapse of British paramountcy over the Indian princely state and treaty relations with the tribal area. Granted freedom to the Indian princely states either to join any of the dominion that they want to. This we will study when we study the history portion after partition of India. We will go through all of these in details, and then it provided for the governance of each of the dominions and provisions by the Government of India Act 1935 till the new constitution was framed. So it provided for the governance of each of the dominions and the provinces by this act till the new constitution was framed. So this is something very relevant. Then dominions were however authorized to make modifications in the act as and how they wanted to. Then deprived the British monarch of his right to veto bills or ask for reservation of certain bills, but this right was reserved for the Governor General. So Governor General would have full power to assent to any bill in the name of His Majesty. Then designated the Governor General and the provincial governors as constitutional heads of the state, dropped the title of Emperor of India from the royal titles of the King of England. This continued the appointment of civil services and reservations opposed by the Secretary of State for India. Members of the civil services appointed before August 15, 1947 would continue to enjoy all the benefits. Then at the stroke of midnight of 15th August, British rule came to an end. This is, I think we should have studied it day before yesterday, and it would have been really relevant for us then. Anyway, for UPSC, anything can be relevant on any day, so let's continue. And power was transferred to the new two independent dominions, India and Pakistan. Lord Mountbatten, first Governor General of the new Dominion of India, Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister, and Constituent Assembly formed in 1946 became the Parliament of the Indian Dominion. So this is the end of this chapter. This is a table of the interim government that is there. Then we have the first cabinet of Free India, which is there, and who all were there as the part, and what all portfolios were held in the first cabinet. This is the end of this chapter. We just have 2-3 questions left. Let's quickly go through them. See, in mains 2015, UPSC has asked a question. What is that question? It would have been difficult for the Constituent Assembly to complete its historic task of drafting the constitution for independent India in just 3 years, but for the experience gained with the Government of India Act 1935 discussed. Let's first know what are they asking in this question. This question is clearly meaning that because of this Government of India Act 1935, it was really easy and beneficial to the Constituent Assembly to frame the constitution, to draft the constitution for independent India in just 3 years. So what does it mean? In an indirect way, the UPSC is asking us to tell us what are the features that have been taken from the Government of India Act 1935 which are still in the constitution. Why? Because if they have taken this feature from here, that means that feature has saved their time to constitute a new idea. So if this idea is already there and it has saved the time, that is why it says that it has been becoming easier for the Constituent Assembly to draft our constitution in just 3 years. So let's look into what all features are there which is still there in the constitution. I've already discussed, but let's revise. So the first introduction, when we are writing, we can write about, I'll remove this for once. See, we can write about that this was the second milestone towards a completely responsible government, and we can say that responsible government has already been a part. Then it is a lengthy and detailed document as it's given. So major reason for our constitution also being bulky. Why? Because our constitution also has a lot of articles and 8 schedules here again. So then we have the features of the act. So first thing we see, All India Federation. Okay, fine. If this was something that has been changed now, we can see that there's a federal list, provincial list, concurrence list. So we can say the idea was from here, and now we have union list, state list, concurrent list. So this is one point again which we can say that the answer will suffice. So what all are the things that has been adopted from the Government of India Act 1935? So one is this, Diarchy we don't have to mention, but we can mention that the governor is required to act with the advice of ministers who are responsible to the provincial legislatures. Today also government uses that. Then introduced bicameralism, which is still prevalent, so we can do this. Separate electorate wasn't there, but somehow a reservation was made, so we can, if we want, if you're lacking point at that point of time, if you don't remember all the points, you can substitute this as an answer. Then it abolished the Council of India, that's not required. Then Reserve Bank of India, which is again still today existing, so this can also be a point. We can also have this Public Service Commission, and so this can also be a point. Then Federal Code, which was set up in 937, this can also be a point, because right now Supreme Court has been using that. So in this portion we can add all these points as our body of the answer. And then when we come to the sources of the constitution, we'll see that from the Government of India Act, we've taken the federal scheme. And then we have taken the office of the governor, we've taken judiciary ideas, we've taken the public service commissions, we have taken the emergency provisions and the administrative details, and like I said, we have taken ordinance also from the Government of India Act of 1935. So it's clearly important, and we can mention all of these points as saying that all these were ideas that has been taken, and that has made our constitution easier to be framed. Also, since we are some civil servant that we are wanting to become, so we cannot write an answer only towards its positive or only towards its negative. I have a detailed analysis, I have a concept clear about what to write when it's asking for discussion, what to write when it's asking for elaboration or comment or critically analyze. I will share with you on my Instagram page, you can go and check it out there. So here we can write this, and however we can also write the negative point, as a lot of the things were the ideas that we've taken from the British Constitution, because this was set all by the people of Britain. So we can say that nothing was our original. If you want to add any negative point, what can we refer to? We can refer to our disadvantages that we've seen, the criticism that we had seen in our constitution portion that we had, I think in our second chapter we had it, and it is here. So we can add our criticism of the assembly, as in it was a representative body, not a sovereign body, and all of the answers that we have copied it from those people, and there has been nothing of our own. So this can be a small portion there, and thus we can conclude, if possible, we could have taken better ideas. And next we also have a 2016 paper saying that did Government of India Act 1935 lay down a federal constitution? It is again asking us to discuss. Now if you see this point, it has laid down a federal constitution. Why? Because the answer would be yes, because in the sources it's itself saying that the federal scheme has been taken by the Government of India Act of 1935. So your answer has to be a yes. You cannot answer it as a no, it's directly wrong. So the federal scheme is there. Now you have to prove your answer. How will you prove your answer? See, it first led to the establishment of an all India federation. This can be one point. There was a federal list, there was a provincial list, there was a concurrent list. So this is a federal scheme that was there. Then another thing is that the provincial autonomy was there. So this is also one of the features of the federal structure. Bicameralism was there in the provinces. There was Bengal, Bombay, Madras. Everybody had their representation in the bicameralism part. So this was also one of the feature of the federal structure. Then Reserve Bank of India, that is a federal bank, we can talk about when we talk about the federal thing. Then it also laid down the Federal Public Service Commission, it laid down a federal court. So all of these are something that gave importance to the people, gave importance to the provinces also, instead of just putting it up to the center. So this can be an answer when you write to say yes, it has been a federal constitution. But what is the negative point again here? See, just like we say, governor was required to act with the advice of the ministers, it was who were responsible to the provincial legislature. So this was one point, that yes, consequently what again, the federal subjects were divided into the reserved subjects and transferred subjects, and as we know, the transferred subjects could be discussed, but the reserved subjects were something that were reserved for the top posts, and it wasn't for the federal structure for the provinces to decide on. So these were certain disadvantages that we can talk of, and then thus we can conclude our answer that no doubt there were issues that gave the federal structure a little bit of the plunge, but ultimately this was a federal constitution that Government of India Act of 1935 was putting up with. So this is the end of our chapter. I just took this video as the second part because I wanted to discuss with you all the details of this answer. It would be really happy and a peaceful thing for me to know that you guys have written the answer to this, and somewhere my video has been making this easier for you. If any more doubt you have, you can DM me on Instagram, or you can just comment down, and I would really reply to it, because I really want to help you people. We actually want to come together to complete this syllabus of ours so that we can go and sit for our exams. So this is it for today's video.